In this video, we're going to be recording guitars into Cubasis 3 on the iPad for the first time. So, let's go. Hi, my name is Pete, and welcome to the third video in our Cubasis 3 series here on the channel. Now, because I'm a guitarist, being able to record guitars into any recording software I use is super important. So we're going to check out how Cubasis 3 manages plugging in and recording an electric guitar. Let's take a look. Now, before we record guitar, we of course need to connect our guitar to our iPad. So here is the setup I'm using. I've got my Steinberg UR22C with my guitar plugged into channel 2. That's going into my 10 DAC powered USB hub, which is then going into my multi-port adapter on my iPad Pro. Now, there's other devices you can use and other ways to connect. There's a heap of videos down in the description if you want to find out how to connect your guitar to your iPhone or iPad, and all the gear you need to use is over on my gear guide, which is at studiolivetoday.com/gear. Now, you may have already noticed that I've got two guitar tracks already recorded here. This was me just getting familiar with how to set my inputs and how to add in the effects like the amp simulator and external guitar effects. So we're going to go through how to do all of those things in this video so that we can get some guitars recorded and sound like this. Let's, however, go back to scratch here by deleting these tracks. We'll just come in here, we'll delete, and we'll delete. So we're back to square one. Now, I've added in a drum track here. I've just got some basic MIDI drums here on my rock drum kit. So at the moment, it sounds like this. And for me, this is just better than recording along to a metronome. It gives you more of a groove and a feel for recording guitars. Right, we've got the guitar plugged in. Let's show how we set up a track and record our first guitar. First up, we need to add a new track to record this guitar too. So we'll come to the track add button here. We want to add an audio track, so we'll tap on that one, and here is our track. Now, you'll notice here under the routing, we can actually bring this one up and it's got mono input, input number 1. Now, you would have seen that I've actually plugged my guitar into input 2. So these inputs, however many inputs you have on your audio interface, you'll have inputs here to use. So we'll select input 2, and now that's actually ready to accept our recording. The one final thing we need to do is turn on this button, the monitoring button, because if we strum at the moment, nothing's coming through. If we want to hear that and record that, we need to monitor it by tapping this one, and now there is our guitar sound. It is coming on through, but of course, our guitar doesn't sound too good with no amplifier. So now let's take a look at how we can add an amp sim track to this guitar. So Cubasis has some built-in amp simulators, and we can add these with our insert effects. So if we tap on the insert effects here and we tap add effect, we can come on down and we want to look for the internal effects, and then we want to scroll on down until we find the amp sim. And if we tap on that one, it's going to drop us into our amp simulator. If we grab our pick and play a guitar now, it's going to put us into our default preset sound. Now you can see here that we've got the controls, so we can change the drive here and the treble on this one, and we can change here between the different types of speakers that we want to have in there. But we also have a bunch of presets that I've discovered here under the factory presets. So we can come in here, and if we want something like something to cut through, you can already hear it cutting in there, so we can play something like that. Or if we want something more on the rhythm side, let's go the fender bender here. We can do a bit of... Why don't we use let's use that Fender sound to lay down our guitar rhythm track here on this one. So what I'm going to do is hit the record button and record in a guitar take here in Cubasis 3. Oh, one quick thing before we hit record, I have just dialed in the input gain on my interface just to make sure that when I'm playing, that we're hitting on that meter there, we're hitting around about sort of 50 to 75%. If you're peaking on that one, you're going to get a distorted tone, not in a good way, in an audio clipping way. So set your input gain. We've done that now. Let's hit record and get a takedown. hit the play button to stop there. So there is our waveform recorded in there, looking fine, ready to go. So all we need to do to play this back now is take our monitor off, and if we come in here to this section where we jump into our verse, let's just hit the play button there. And we're in our mixer view here. We can now, if you don't remember how to do that, we go into our mixer view. We can now start mixing that track in here. And you can see there's where that amp sim effect is there. So if we want to add other things in here, we can do that by adding different effects. And we can even use external amp simulators, which is what I'm going to show you now with our next guitar part. So let's add another track here. We'll go track add. We'll go audio again. Now what we could have done is duplicated our original track. I'll show you that way in a moment. We're going to again go to insert effects. This time though, why don't we actually add a different effect? We can go to our audio units or our inter-app audio, and we can add one of our amp simulators from here. So let's come on down. We'll go with the Nembrini. Why don't we go the Nembrini? Should we go the Soundmaster, or should we go the 8180? Let's go the 8180. Get a bit of lead guitar goodness in our life. Now you may be ahead of me, but the one thing I haven't done on this new track is set the input. So we need to go back to our routing. Make sure this is to input 2. Very simple to do. I'm liking how easy it is to change up our input. So that's ready to go now. But again, until we hit the little button here, the monitor button, we won't be hearing that. Let's hit the monitor now. Oh, you can hear that come straight in there. Why don't we come in here to our effects and play around with this. So if we want to see what we're using here on the Nembrini 8180, we just tap on that button there, and here we go. We've got everything dialed in here. Sounds like we've got some sort of tone here that's going to be a little bit too full on. So we can actually start playing around with our presets here in the amp sim. So just like in any DAW or any software, we can tap here and we can go to our factory presets and choose a different one. Let's go with like the bright clean. Let's get a cleaner tone in here and have a bit of a play. Well, again, we need to turn back on our monitoring by tapping this one. And now... So yeah, we can start dialing in our different tones. So let's hit record on this one, and let's just throw a little lead guitar part over the top using the Nembrini 8180 plugin and this clean, bright clean tone. Right, a few mistakes in there. In the future, we'll learn how to correct those, but for now, we're just going to leave it in there as is. So we've got our 2 guitar tracks that we've recorded here. We've multi-tracked in. We've got these ready to go. Let's just take a quick listen to a part in here where we're playing them all together. Cool, that's sounding okay, but you know what? I'm not loving this track, so why don't we just show the power of this, because we can now change up these tones, because remember, if we turn this off here, this is just recorded straight in direct. So let's just solo this guitar, it sounds like this. And when we add the amp sim, so this is the beauty of recording here. We can record through any of our amp simulators, but then if we want to change them, we can go ahead and do that. Let's show you how to do that now. So all we need to do here is select on the track we've got here, come back to our amp sim, turn that one off, tap on here to add a new effect, and then we can come down here to any of our audio unit or inter-app audio, anything we want to use. This time, why don't we use the Nembrini Sound Master? I do like some of the tones in there. So we'll tap on that one, loads up our Sound Master, and now it'll be here set with our default. So we've still got the track soloed there. Let's just take a listen to the default sound here. There's our raw guitar recording. And there's the Sound Master. And there's videos about all of these plugins, by the way, down below if you want to check out the Sound Master or any of the other plugins. The Nembrini Crunk is a great one if you want a free amp sim. I'll put a link to the video about that one if you're just getting started with amp simulators. But now, of course, we can come in again and go to any of our presets here. So what if we want a little bit more crunch? Let's say we throw in the alternative crunch. That's going to sound like this. And we can audition other sounds on the fly. So I think going back to one of those earlier tones, I think the alternative crunch or maybe rhythm. Let's just try this one. No, I definitely want the alternative crunch. That sounded just a little bit less intense. Yeah, so I think that's going to work well here. So we've got our guitar tones in there. We can now bring these back in, go over to our mixer, and we can start bringing these sounds together and making sure they're sounding good in the mix. Let's take a listen. Cool. And the one final thing I'll show you here on the guitars here is that we can then add in a bunch of other plugins as well. So if we've got our amps in there, we want to add in some other guitar effects, we can just tap here on the add effect, and then we can come into our audio units and add in any of these, or even use the internal effects here. So we want a little bit of a, what should we put on here? Something like a chorus effect. We can throw the chorus effect on there. And now on this lead guitar, we can have the lead guitar amp, but also a chorus. And if we want to switch the order, by the way, we just tap and hold and we can drag those. So let's have a chorus pedal going into our amp simulator. Let's solo this one and take a listen. So that sounds pretty cool. Yeah, we can do that, and then we can layer up as many, as many as we have slots there, as many plugins and effects that we want to have on our sound. There is one more thing that I'm going to show here, and that's how we can do some panning on these guitars. So to do that, we've got our two guitar tracks here. So if we grab the first one here, you'll notice here that we've got this C here. Now this is for center, and all we need to do to pan is grab that and move it to the left or the right. So if you want to go with your panned left, right wall of guitars kind of sound, if you're recording multiple guitars, we can just grab this one, put it over to the left, grab this one, put it to the right, and then we're going to have a nice stereo effect here. So let's grab these together. Let's take a listen to this with our guitars, one on the left and one on the right. And you know what it helps to do? To take your solo off. Let's try that again. There you go. Some cool options here, and it is indeed quite easy to get ourselves set up. So all we need to do is plug in our guitar, which I showed you at the start there. Again, more videos down in the description. Set our input to the right input, set any effects, any amp simulators or effects that we want to add to our guitar, and then rock out, and we're good to go. So I hope you found this one useful. We will be back looking at vocals and looking at recording MIDI keyboards in future videos. So hang out for those ones. Hope you enjoyed this one. There's more videos down below if you want to check those out, and I'll see you on the next one.